Right, here we are.
Okay.
Hey now,
Cool.
hey now, it's Friday.
It's
Well,
Friday.
welcome to Free Hands Friday. Welcome to Free Hands Friday number 39, where we are spiraling into craziness and silliness. It couldn't get any better. We were
Right off the
wrapping up
bat.
the Sem Boston Ember with a bang.
Gene,
John Tyler Kidd.
they word gets more excellent every time you say it.
Um, the effects, we're just gonna let them roll. Usually, like I kind of I like Dave Broski, like we turned him on for his session, and let's just go for it.
Okay.
Let's just find
Sounds
something.
good.
Josh, it's all yours.
All right. So it's everybody's favorite day of the week, Friday. It's also the day after Christmas. Merry Christmas for those of you who celebrate, and I don't know, poo-poo on you for those that don't. Uh,
Goldberg,
exactly. I didn't celebrate, so poo-poo on me. It's fine. Today, today, exactly. Today, I will be asking a whole bunch of really way too personal questions to my good friend and fellow bandmate, John Tyler Kent.
Hello.
We were promised there would be tears.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
will be.
There's gonna be tears. It's gonna be delicious, delicious tears. Uh, so Tyler, what's going on, man? How have you been since I saw you like a week ago?
I've been good. Just holding up the fort. I was actually kind of sick yesterday for Christmas, so that was
Bummer.
kind of a bummer,
Yeah.
but doing all right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's tell us about like your start with music and like what kind of brought you to wanting to dedicate yourself to something like this.
Well, I was always kind of like, even when I was a younger kid, like around 5 years old, I was always like paying a lot of attention to whatever was on the radio, which um, kind of gave a few false starts to music, actually. My first couple CDs that I got from my parents were Millennium by Backstreet Boys, and like a weird, this weird like radio hits karaoke CD that they got me. And but anyways, I kind of kept paying attention to music, even though I wasn't playing anything yet at the time.
Sure.
And probably around age 10, I got a I got my first guitar for Christmas. That Gene with the comments.
Yeah.
I got
Backstreet Boys. I mean, I'm like tears of laughter, but also like I just respect that. You know, that's cool. Like
yeah. I mean,
guys,
I
might
had
have
that
for
for
Duran,
years.
right? Like we had Duran, like a little makeup, you know. Cool.
Yeah.
I guess that was sort of our Duran. I don't know.
You got yourself your first guitar when you were 10 for Christmas.
Yeah, got a squeer.
Nice.
And yeah, from there I started taking lessons. A good friend of mine who lived down the street, Tommy Quinn, got a guitar around the same time, so we started playing together a lot. And he already had a lot of like music gear lying around the house. I think his dad used to play like kind of in the 70s and 80s a bit, so he had
Okay.
a couple of amps and stuff like that. And so we go over there and practice, and we ended up signing up for the same guitar teachers and everything like that.
Hmm.
And I ended up kind of raiding my dad's CD collection. He actually had some slightly less boy band material in there. So I got into like AC/DC, Eric Clapton, and some there's some blues and classic rock guys.
Sure.
And yeah, I just kind of really picked it up from there.
That's cool. So what's your biggest musical guilty pleasure? You know, that bit of music that you put on at 3 a.m. when you think nobody's going to hear you because you're almost embarrassed to share it, but now you have to share it because
I don't know if I really like believe in the idea of like like guilty pleasures. If you like something, then like
I feel bad about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I hear that.
I've lately been feeling guilty about how many times like consecutively I've put on that new Bruno Mars song.
Guilty.
Uptown Funk. That's a great song.
Yeah, it really is.
And I'll literally I'll play it like 4 times in a row before I'm done with it.
I get that. I hear you.
But yeah, I don't really believe in the idea of guilty pleasures at all.
Sure. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I feel pretty guilty. I legitimately like "Toxic" by Britney Spears. Like I actually like it.
That's a cool song. That's a really cool song.
But it's really embarrassing to like that song for me.
I didn't see Gene's comment that guy can play drums until until you mentioned "Toxic" by Britney Spears.
No. But you see the Super Bowl when he came out with like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and all those guys?
Yeah, and he started off with a drum solo.
Ricky, I mean, like he was like right on target. He was for real. Like
he killed that.
So okay, so now you are what, 12-year-old Tyler? You've been playing guitar for 2 years, and you're starting to get into some more rock and blues based American music. What then?
Yeah.
What happened next?
I started kind of discovering. Started discovering some more kind of '90s grunge-based stuff. So that's when I started getting into Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and Nirvana and bands like that.
It's like my whole high school.
And that's kind of learning. Especially learning Jerry Cantrell's guitar parts is like kind of like what made me want to become like a serious guitar player.
Yes, same. It was Jerry Cantrell's solo in Them Bones.
Oh yeah.
For me, yeah. First time that I was like, oh, guitar is a real thing that could be taken seriously.
We had like in middle school there was like this one guy in our group of friends who his dad apparently had like the entire Alice in Chains discography, and like every couple of days like we'd get him to burn all of us like whatever the next thing was in there.
Sick.
So I had like these like old like burn copies of Facelift and Dirt and all that stuff.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah.
Ugh. So, okay, so you're falling into this grunge stuff. So at this point, do you have yourself like your first band, or are you still bandless and just kind of playing and writing on your own?
I've kind of got I've got a band. We're not really we don't really play out very much, but we just have infinite rehearsals and stuff like that, and in their attic, and it's the same. It's the guy I mentioned whose dad used to play a lot, and we just go into their attic and just kind of jam in there with whatever gear he had laying around.
That's cool. So like this is the first guy. This is the guy that you started with, and at this point you're actually still on the same path together.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I like that.
And his brother actually took up drums shortly after we started playing guitar. So.
Did you guys have a bass player, or was it just the trio?
We kind of on and off had a bass player, yeah.
Did you guys do any recordings?
We did. I don't know if they still exist anywhere, though.
I've
got to look around for that.
What was the quality? Were you guys actually like the rare off chance that like a band of 12-year-olds was actually good, or were you guys just as terrible?
No, not by stretch of the word, but we all had the same. The guy who taught me and Tommy guitar also was a drummer, so he was also teaching the other guy drum lessons at the time.
You
And
all
so
had the teacher.
yeah, and so he one day he brought his Tascam whatever to lessons and like mic'd it up really quick, and we played through a couple of our songs, and that we had in the recording our drummer complaining that he was too tired to play drums anymore and he didn't want to play the remaining like 3 songs, so the music teacher just took over for those couple songs on drums.
Oh man, that's really funny. So was there like a market improvement in the song?
Was the drum teacher asked to be the new drummer?
Huh?
Was the drum teacher asked to be the new drummer? Is he like?
He just jumped on the whatever we had left to record that day.
So funny. That's hilarious. And did you guys play any shows, like any cool Battle of the Bands? Like, what was the name of this group? I'm really interested in the saga of this group.
It was one of those, we had like 5 different names that would kind of cycle.
Yeah.
We had one show that was like a neighborhood block party of ours.
That's cool.
And then shortly after that, I moved to New Jersey, so that was kind of the end of that group.
Right.
Unrelated to playing the block party, it wasn't.
Hey Tony, how's it going, man?
What's up, guys?
Good to see you.
Hey man, how's it going?
What's up?
What's up, Tony?
We were just talking about Tyler's first band.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're moving on to chapter 2, the Dirty Jurors.
Dirty Jurors?
The Dirty Jurors?
Chapter 2, the Dirty Jurors. Okay.
So, all right. So now you're in New Jersey, and obviously you weren't, stuck in a vacuum there, and you continued playing music. So what was Jersey like?
Jersey was really cool, actually. The first time I visited what was going to be my high school, there was a summer music program going on there.
Sick.
So I pretty much immediately met kind of all the music staff there, and a couple of great players, and the guy who would actually end up being my guitar teacher was a Berkeley alum.
Oh, great. So
Yeah.
you've been connected to the school for years this way.
Yeah. He kind of told me about the school a little bit and started getting me prepared for auditioning for schools.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
So
How old were you then? Sorry, how and Tony, I should warn you, we're just like interrupting. I'm sorry, I am. 'Cause I'm curious about that. Like, so you had kind of like an angle, like you knew that you wanted to do music professionally. You wanted to make a career of it. How old were you when you were like considering going to Berkeley?
I guess probably like end of freshman year, beginning of sophomore year.
Okay.
Was when I started thinking about
something like that.
wow.
Yeah.
So you had it. You kind of had your path laid out for you like early on.
Well, I kind of
They're not laid out for you, but like you understood what you wanted to do.
yeah, and then so that's kind of when I decided I wanted to give Berkeley a try. So the next summer I went to the guitar sessions summer program at Berkeley, which is like a 2-week kind of guitar workshop thing. The 5-week program, but just trimmed down a bit.
Right.
To see, my parents told me, you can do this summer. If you end up liking it, you can do the full 5-week thing to see if it's like really a school that you'd want to go to and everything.
Yeah.
Which I ended up doing the next summer.
Right. So high school finishes up, and now you're a freshman at Berkeley.
Yeah.
How was that? What's that experience like for you?
Um, it was cool. It was less. It was a lot less intimidating than I thought it was going to be, because everybody, in a way, everybody who's there wanting to do like performance is in a way competing, but everybody's kind of so doing their own thing that it's not, people aren't brushing shoulders in the hallways or anything like that. It's everybody's kind of just trying to expose each other and themselves to as much new stuff as possible.
Neat.
Um,
So it's like friendly competition.
yeah, it is.
That's good.
That's when and that's when I started discovering like Animals as Leaders and Periphery and all these like progressive metal bands that were starting to like really come out.
Yeah, they ruined my life too.
Yeah, they messed up everything for me.
Right? Now everything is just to shit.
Yeah.
Cool. So, at what point did you start noticing that the Chapman stick was a thing?
I think around sophomore year of college, I discovered King Crimson, and kind of through that, obviously, I saw the weird ass thing Tony Levin was playing and was really interested in what that was all about.
Sure.
And also, through that I started seeing videos of like Nick Beggs and then Greg Howard and then Bob Culbertson, and I kind of just kept clicking on those related videos and
Right.
all over the place.
Say that again. I'm sorry, you cut out a bit.
Okay. That's when I discovered Nick Beggs and Greg Howard and Bob Culbertson, and I just kept kind of going through related videos and what have you.
That all up.
Just discovering more and more music, and I just really like the way the instruments sound. Simply put.
Yeah. So what was the deciding factor that like you're like, okay, this might be worth pursuing?
I'd kind of been looking to do something a little bit just different from traditional guitar for a little bit. And at first I had tried going the route of putting a MIDI pickup into my guitar and doing something interesting with that, and that didn't really play out the way I liked it, and so I ended up putting the guitar into fifths tuning to try to get more of a range out of it, and that was cool, but it still didn't really quite do what I wanted it to. And then I ended up kind of revisiting those Chapman Stick videos, and I just really liked the way it was tonally. I could I was watching the videos of how it was tuned, and I was kind of just trying to picture it and trying to figure out how I thought things would be played.
Yeah. Did it turn out to be anything like the way you thought?
No, not at all. Once I decided I was getting one, I spent the next couple of months trying to learn tapping parts on guitar, thinking that okay, well that'll be what the melody side of the Chapman Stick is like, and it's tuned similarly, but it just doesn't feel the same way at all.
No.
And so none of the stuff I had written transferred at all or anything like that.
Right.
But I don't know. It's an instrument that lends itself to writing so easily that it wasn't oh shit, I'm starting over from square one. It was kind of a really quick development from there.
Yeah, and I feel like I was in a similar situation in that we just had such a background already that the knowledge, especially coming from guitar, I feel like guitarists and bassists have it easier on one hand because you've already got the fret language down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and piano players and drummers have it easier on the other hand in that they already have their hand separation down pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the experience that you already had from years and years of guitar study, and from knowledge of music, that must have helped push you on the instrument quite a bit.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time really like considering. I didn't really have an instrument to practice this on, but like the couple of months before I got a stick, I was spent a lot of time considering how that the flipped bass side would feel, because I was like really nervous about that getting into it, thinking that that was going to be like learning a whole new instrument, and it ended up just being way more intuitive.
Right. It totally picks up really easily, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the first reaction? You take it out of the box. It just arrived at your place, and you're about to take it out of the box for the very first time. What was that like? Were angels singing?
Wait, hold on. Can I preface this with something, Josh? Because this is
please do.
like one of my favorite questions. Like, if you don't mind me asking, when we asked that, like, you saw one on eBay?
Yeah, saw it on eBay.
And did you like consult people on Facebook or the Stickist, or like what came next? I mean, like $1,500 just to have this conversation, right? I mean,
yeah.
It could be a piece of shit with strings on it, right? Like, you don't.
Well, it was right when the Railboard was coming out.
So this was like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about when. That's
Had to
about when I started looking at it.
All right.
And so that's actually how I convinced my dad so easily that it wasn't a total waste of time, is there were all these new videos with Kevin Keith showing, look at all this crazy stuff you can do with the Chapman stick, and I just sent him a bunch of links, and he was like, yeah, no, this looks really cool. It looks like you could do something really unique with it. And
did you tell him, like, hey, Dad, Kaja Gugu from the 80s used one?
No, I left that bit out, funnily enough.
Okay. All right. Sorry to interject there.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So, taking it out of the box, like I was asking, were there angels? Was the devil cackling over your shoulder? Like, what happened?
A little bit of both. The first thing I did when I took it out of the box actually was figured out elephant talk, because I thought that was going to be really cool to know.
Nice. That's funny, I talked to a lot of stick players who, and I did the same thing, and it's like everybody who's coming from a different instrument to the stick, it's like the first time you played it, you made damn sure to end the first time walking away with some sort of song.
Yeah.
No matter how simple.
Yeah, I wasn't about to pick it up and not know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it doesn't matter how simple it is or how complex or whatever, but you walked away. Hey, Dean, what's going on, man?
All right.
How you doing? Hope you're well. Merry Christmas and whatnot. But yeah, it's like no matter who's coming to it, you walk away from the very first time playing it. Seems like it's just very common to have some sort of arrangement done.
Yeah.
Which is neat.
And within that first month, I started writing Collision, which ended up being the first tune I wrote for Digits.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about Digits. So that was really freaking cool. And Collision is actually how you and I started talking. So I guess in a way, Digits is how we got to know each other.
Yeah.
And so yeah, let's talk about Digits. What were you thinking? Oh my God! No. What were you thinking? Like, what was your thought process going into that? Because I remember listening when you were on Hammond Chamberlain's Behind the Playlist. You were talking about how a lot of the stuff on Digits you kind of wrote as an exercise for yourself. It doesn't sound like an exercise. It sounds like you went in with musical intent, and it's all very well done.
It is all. It is all like very, I guess, musically intended, if you want to say that. But it was kind of just me learning how to approach the stick from different ways. So Collision, that verse part, it's kind of using the stick kind of as the low strings going into the high strings is like one instrument, and then N2O has a little bit more of like, I guess, like a pianistic approach to it. So really, just I decided, mostly after I recorded that first tune, Collision, that I wanted to, by the time my first year had gone by, I wanted to have at least a simple EP recorded.
Sure. I mean, your definition of simple is, I think, very different from others. There's a lot of really great complexity in that EP. I don't think there's really a lot of, like, simple stuff at all. I think it's very depth and very intelligent.
And a lot of it was figuring out how to, at the same time of figuring out how to play, I also wanted to learn how to record the instrument, because it's a different instrument than a guitar and a bass, and it's got its own
tendencies,
its own sweet spots frequency wise, and it fits into a mix very differently than a guitar or bass does.
Right.
I really wanted to kind of have that figured out as well.
Right. And at this time, you were living with and starting to work on some of this stuff live with Josh, who actually plays drums in our band now.
Yeah.
How was that? How was the process of, like, learning to actually bring this music to life beyond just the recording?
That was really cool. He was he was just amazingly patient with, like, just jumping into, like, a band with someone who was literally just learning the instrument that they were on.
He's a pretty dope guy. So.
Yeah. And he's just such a solid player. He listened to him like once or twice, and he'd have it down, and half of a rehearsal would just be us looping it so I could get my parts down live.
Right.
But yeah, that was really cool, and that's I ended up I decided at some point that I needed to somehow get him on the EP, which is why I ended up recording his little drum solo at the end of Collision.
Yeah, that stuff was cool. He's such a talented guy. Now he plays in our band. Wee.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so at this point you've got yourself, the workings of an EP and a live project, but you've clearly taken that, playing the stick live beyond just your own music and what we're doing, and you're actually in a couple of Boston groups playing it. Let's talk about that a little.
So there's a band called Perfect Mark that I primarily play acoustic guitar in. And after having the stick for a couple months, I started wondering if it were possible for me to kind of start sneaking the stick into some of the arrangements we would do live. And so I would, what I would do, we would, I knew the songs pretty much off the charts by this point, so I would kind of take everything home, and I would just kind of play around until I had figured out parts on stick for the songs, and then once I had those parts down really solid, I'd bring them into rehearsal and say, hey, like, what do you, I'm gonna just try this out. If you don't think it works, then it's all good. But I think it could be kind of a cool thing to have live, which totally the gimmicky side of it totally like played a part in the acceptance of it, I think.
Yeah.
Because there were definitely a couple gigs where like, the sound guy didn't mix it right or whatever, and nobody could hear what I was doing. Really cool that you had that thing.
Yeah.
Or I actually had somebody like approach me at the end of one of our shows and said, "That thing looks like it sounds really good." So that was probably my favorite
one. That looks like it really sounds cool.
Yeah. Best compliment ever, right?
Yeah.
And then there's another group which is kind of sort of this musical thing, as I understand it. It's like a musical sort of.
Oh, the Pillowmen?
Yeah.
So the Pillowmen is we're looking to put on the show hopefully in October at the Oberon Theater in Cambridge. And what that is
October? Sorry, October?
Yeah.
It's
October.
Okay.
It's a bit of a ways off still, but
you're getting there.
Yeah.
Planning.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you gotta have the books, the dates booked for the shows there pretty early in advance because they book up pretty quick.
Right.
But more or less, it's a show about dreams and kind of the processes your brain goes through and your sleep cycles and everything like that. And it's a very cool kind of Beatles meets Pink Floyd meets Radiohead-ish kind of like musically. That's kind of where it's coming from. Performance-wise, it's a little bit closer to something like Blue Man Group or Cirque du Soleil. We each have our own costumes, which include our own masks, which I've actually got this guy here. And so,
we can all add our own mask right now.
Tyler, wouldn't you say that in everyday life, everyone is wearing a mask?
What?
Wouldn't? No, it was a bad, pretentious question.
Okay.
So what are you doing as the stick player in that group? Gene, I love the stash, man.
I can't get rid of it.
You can't get rid of it?
I can't get rid of it.
Why would you want to?
I'm turning it off. Okay, sorry.
I
bet we could get Dean looking like. We could probably get Dean looking just like Tony Levin if we do that on him.
Yeah, throw a mustache on Dean.
I'll put. I turn it off. I'll see if I can turn it back on. Oh,
Yeah.
now I've done it.
So Tyler, what role as a stick player are you taking in the Pillowmen?
So that I'm taking much more of a bass player's role. I actually responded to their ad saying, I don't know if you think this is appropriate for your group or whatever, but I play this instrument called the Chapman stick. It's kind of it's something that was used in King Crimson as a bass instrument, and Peter Gabriel used it as a bass instrument as well, and it turned out the two guys who had kind of been writing the show are big King Crimson fans.
Oh, perfect.
And big Tony Levin fans in general. And so they let me come in, audition, and it played out well. And so now we're just rehearsing things and kind of working out the logistics of such a big show. But
very cool.
Yeah.
And then the other band that you play stick in is Geff, which is our group.
Yeah, Jeff, G-Hawk.
So I want to get your perspective on like the start up to now on that group, because I talked about my perspective of it a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Like when I hit you up saying that I was moving to Boston, we should be in a band. Like, let's start there. What were you thinking? What were you thinking, Tyler?
What were you? I can't because I care. I'm sorry.
When you said that, I was thinking that like you were gonna move to Boston, we were gonna kind of jam every now and then, and it was eventually gonna kind of take shape into something. And then you showed up at our apartment with this like master plan, this like Pinky and the Brain style like take over the world master plan. No, but it was the greatest thing ever.
Cool. It's good to hear you say that rather than fucking.
Yeah, no, you just barged into our house and just
started yelling at everybody what to do, and you went along with it. You're still not sure why. Continue.
No, and it was.
Can I trouble you to like when you met him? Like when so like he's like, I'm moving to Boston. Like, come on over for like let's have some beers or something like that. Like, tell us a little bit about the birth of Geff. I mean, because this is kind of like the the stick community's like you guys are in a band with 2 stick players. Like, how many other bands have 2 stick players?
Yeah.
Like, it's you guys. So like, tell us a little bit about that union.
Well, let's see. We kind of had like a couple of meetings before we actually started rehearsing.
Yeah.
We were, trying to figure out. You obviously aren't going to know what you sound like you play together. But
sorry. Say that one more time. Your audio feed got a little jumpy.
Okay. Well, like one of the things we had to figure out was, obviously you're not going to know what you sound like until you play together. But we wanted to figure out at least what style of music we were going for. So we had a discussion about that. We had a couple discussions about the name, and then
we were originally going to call it Jeff, but just spelled really stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh asked, "What's our band name gonna be?" And I just, as a joke, just threw out Jeff.
And then I sat there and I was like, I would do that if we just spelled it really dumb. And so we actually picked the Geff spelling, and then Tyler, at like 2 in the morning, Googled what Geff was, and it turns out that it's a protein. It's short for Gefferin, which is a protein involved in DNA synthesis, and we all thought that was cool as hell.
That is cool as hell.
Yeah.
Way cooler. That's the big question. Can you get the domain?
Maybe. Find out.
Geff Band.
I looked it. I remember I looked it up at the time, and it wasn't taken. But,
cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's actually good to know. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Right. So,
yeah.
So we had a couple of meetings, and then, we talked about the name, we talked about the sound. What else?
We started rehearsing Sargonatus, which is a tune off of your album.
Yep.
We had an unplugged rehearsal in like a corner of a stairwell at Berkeley.
Somebody came up and took pictures of us while we were practicing because we couldn't get ourselves a rehearsal room.
And it was the same thing. It was like, oh, that looks like it sounds really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Those instruments both look like they sound really cool.
Yeah. Whoa, what is that?
Yeah. They're gonna hear it and be like, oh, we made a mistake. delete those pictures off of their computers. But
yeah, right. So we started working on a tune-off of my album and a tune-off of Digits first, and then we started writing together. Talk a little bit to me about that.
About writing?
Yeah, writing with Geff. Your perspective of writing with Geff. Because I have terrible.
Huh?
Be honest, right? Be honest. Just because Josh is here doesn't mean.
Yeah, don't worry.
Let him have it, right?
Please.
I've actually had Josh muted for this entire conversation. I'm just completely guessing what he wants.
That's what I was looking for.
Sweet.
No, right? The first writing rehearsal we had was really scary for all of like 5 minutes when I didn't know what the hell I was going to be doing, and then it just all sort of fell into place really quickly. Like way easier than I'd expected it to.
Yeah.
But the material that was there was just it kind of just lended itself very easy to it wasn't too open-ended what I was going to be doing. There was really only like a certain range I could be filling, and it all just it just went very smoothly. I don't know.
Yeah. That was Splinter. The parts from that song were, as I mentioned, the parts that wound up kind of being the catalyst for me leaving And the Traveler. We then worked on another song. We started working on this other tune, which was a lot more challenging as composers and as a group, because it really didn't make it, like the first song made itself very obvious where the parts led to, and the second one absolutely did not. We really had to look at ourselves and look at the music very critically to get it right. I'm curious, Tyler, about your thoughts when we were writing that song, when we were writing Mokhtar.
I think a big part of that, I think, was that for Splinter, most of your parts were already there. Actually, I think all of your parts had already been written.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of arranging and kind of building off of them to create my parts. The next song, Mokhtar Dario, we had kind of we'd written this kind of crazy sounding 5-part, and we kind of figured out a melody for that, and it kind of from there we had to kind of be writing from scratch pretty much up to the end of the song. And because of that, I think it felt very, it was a much more difficult process because we weren't just arranging parts that had already been written. We were also kind of writing Chapman stick parts on the spot, which I didn't even think was something that we were going to be able to do, but
we totally got it.
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't know, in my experience working with other bands, I haven't actually worked with that many other bands. My first real band was And the Traveler, and I'd worked with a couple of groups when I was younger, but I didn't live in the area, so my work with them was only pretty much when I was around. I've never gelled so well with another group writing-wise, personally.
Yeah.
I feel like we're really on to something cool. And I'm not just saying that because, like, I should be. I'm saying that because I mean it. And
there you go.
Yes, exactly. So we finished up that tune, and then the third tune. We only needed 5 songs to get a set. That was kind of our goal for the year, right? And we completed it. Is to have a set pretty much ready by the new year, and we only needed 5 tunes. So now we're up to 4, and we started working on this stuff. One of the first things that happened when we started working with Geff is that Tyler had this collection of parts that he had written. I'm sorry, Princess Kitty Angel.
Stop it.
Had a collection of parts that he had written. And sent out to us, and that kind of fell on the back burner as we've been tackling things kind of as we get interested in them.
Yeah.
So we just finished the last tune for our set, which we're calling Manifest Destiny's Child, which I'm so happy about. And
we're honestly like prouder of our song titles than we are of the actual songs.
Yeah, right. So, how were you approaching the stick for your parts in this tune?
For that one, it's I kind of wanted to write mostly off of the bass side, and I really just wanted to write just very. I wanted to try to write something kind of similar to the disjointed Stickmen stuff, or like the Construction of Light era King Crimson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a very uncomfortable kind of. Just very uncomfortable kind of jarring transitions, and but I didn't really know how to leave room for another player on that one, so I just decided to limit myself to the bass side, and then what I came up with was kind of the parts I ended up bringing into rehearsal, and I guess we'll see when people hear them if they worked or not.
I think they did. I think that one turned out to be a very cool song. Especially we're writing a 5-song EP about the world's first quantum knot, which is the first man to, rather than going to outer space, he just gets shrunk down smaller and smaller and smaller. And so it's entirely instrumental, and it's about his journey from being regular size to shrinking down, and at a certain point he realizes that there's no going back, so he just braces himself, and he's seeing all these amazing things and quarks and gluons and whatever, and finally he gets to the smallest that he can be, and he's looking at the quantum foam, and he realizes that everything is just a cosmic joke, because he looks into the bubbles of the quantum foam, and it's just the universe that he came from. Each bubble is just the universe that he came from. And so he keeps shrinking down and repeating the process over and over again. We're ending the EP with this song, Manifest Destiny's Child, and the end of this song, I think, really captures that kind of like futility of just eternally shrinking into your own universe.
Well, so when can we hope to see this or hear this? When can we hope to see this great album?
Not ever.
When can we hope to hear it?
Never.
Never?
Yeah, no, we're not really.
We've finished tracking the first song. The first song is all set. We're trying to put together a video to put out, like a playthrough kind of video.
Yeah.
To go along with it.
But hopefully, we've only got 2 songs left to write, and we've got a bunch of material to work with for those 2 songs already, because both Tyler and myself are just constantly writing new crap. So I could see it being, I don't want to say anything definitely, but I could see maybe around like late March, April-ish, we might be getting ready to release something, if we're like really fastidious about this stuff. That might be like a total, like totally unrealistic goal, though. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because there is a lot that goes into it. Luckily, Tyler and I have our own studio setups at our home. But if we want to actually record drums and make them sound good, we got to hire a studio session, or we got to pay somebody. We got to pay an engineer. We got to pay a studio. All that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's definitely coming along, and we're definitely going to be putting some cool stuff out.
Yeah, everyone's looking forward to it. So, could I ask, Tony or Dean, you guys want to chime in? Because,
yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Hey, guys. Tyler, you mentioned earlier about when you were doing the first year with the stick, how you took time to, get a repertoire and learn how to record it. I was wondering how you do record it, in what ways?
I've been recording pretty much direct into my Nbox, and then I've been using mostly Waves plugins to kind tailor the sound to what I want. So the two I've been kind of favoring lately are the CLA bass and the CLA. I think it's called CLA Effects. Is the other one.
You use Logic?
Yeah, Logic Pro 10.
Logic Pro 10. Okay, and you just go. What are you using for a DA box?
I've been going into just into the MBox Pro that I've got.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that actually brings up a question for me. You mentioned that the stick has its own recording tendencies and you know, like sweet spots and stuff like that. What kind of things? What are like the biggest glaring differences from, you know, recording a stick versus recording a guitar or a bass that you've picked up?
I kind of just I've noticed there's a there's a lot more with mids I like to do than with it than I really like to do with you know, guitar or bass or anything like that. Really, I don't know. I just I've used it.
Audio's cutting out again.
The same things if you're careful with it.
One more time, sorry, Tyler. Sorry, your audio cut out again. Yeah, you're back. You're fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Adjust background. Oh, there's backgrounds.
Oh, no.
Okay. Sorry. Well, I've noticed you can do a lot of that same stuff if you're used to recording guitar or bass a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of prefer to let the stick be its own instrument than trying to kind of duplicate what I've done with guitar or bass or anything like that. I've noticed, yeah, especially with the bass though, it's just, you know, the attack is entirely different, so you're gonna kind of handle how that's going into Logic very differently than
Sure.
Than you would with electric bass.
Sure.
Yeah. If I don't know if that answered your question.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm always interested in how other stick players record the instrument, and there's so many different ways, you know.
Right.
Dean, how do you do it? Because you just put out a really kick-ass video, and
Yeah, that
I'm
was
really
cool,
enjoying
man.
it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, thanks. How did I do it? I use Logic as well, and I have a port, a Focusrite port that's stereo, and I plug the guitar and bass side of the stick into it, and I do it two ways. A lot of times I'll have preset sounds that I use. I'll plug my pedals in, but other times I like the randomness of certain things. Like I love ring modulators and things that you can't control. So sometimes I'll process effects afterwards onto it, just to see how it'll sound. So I do it both ways. The one I just recorded, I had all my pedals set up, and I used different pedals, and I recorded it that way.
Nice.
Yeah. Thanks, though.
Tony, do you have any questions?
Yeah, actually, other than recording, I know you play out live a lot, Tyler. What kind of gear do you use when you play out live? Amp-wise, preamp-wise, effects?
Live, I've got an HD 500X that I've been using, and I've been pretty much sending that straight to front of house.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Wow, that is gutsy. That is gutsy. I like it.
It's and the first couple shows that worked terribly, and I had to kind of take it home and like really kind of figure out how to make it work. If you can take time with it, it's one of those things that it can do everything that you need it to. It's just you really need to take the time to figure out how.
And was that, if you don't mind me asking, because I know we have a lot of HD500 and HD500X users, of which I am one. So it's a selfish question, really. Was it like a compression? Was it EQ? Like, what was the one thing?
It was mostly it was a compression thing.
Okay.
It was.
Or levels or amps, or I mean, I know there's never just one thing, but was there something in particular that just kind of like went off where you're like, okay, now I get it? And like left hand versus
a lot of it was kind of the balance of.
Your audio broke up a little bit there, Tyler, so you might want to say that again.
Yeah. The biggest thing was really just getting a balance between the different sounds I would use. Especially in Perfect Mark, I used a couple of different effects and a couple of different. I use some of those like the synth, the synth sounds and stuff like that. You can pull out of it, and especially those can just be very out of balance with everything else if you just kind of leave them to the default whatever.
Right.
So it's taking a couple of hours and kind of sitting with each sound and making sure it's nothing's suddenly blaring out when you hit a button or whatever.
So really quick, we don't have a lot of time left. I want to cover two more topics.
Okay.
One of which, I want you to talk about Freehands Academy that you attended this past summer.
That was probably the worst experience of my life, to be honest. That was the most dreadful thing that's ever happened.
Look at the time. Oh, my gosh.
No, Freehands was awesome. Having only ever met one other stick player before that, and then...
Was that me?
Yeah, that was you.
You know what? I bet all those instruments sound great. They look cool.
They all look so good.
So actually, wait, hold on, because Tony and Dean will enjoy this. Josh, you delivered it so well. Who said it? Like, what? Somebody, or maybe Tyler, you said it. Something about the stick. Like somebody saw the stick and they're like,
"Oh,
that looks like it sounds cool."
Yeah. The first couple of Perfect Mark shows were just not mixed very well, and so somebody couldn't. First couple shows, you couldn't even hear it in the mix of the band. Someone just walked up to me and just like, "Yeah, that looks like it sounds really cool."
That's great.
So like 30 of them, right? Or 30 or 40, like whatever it may have been.
Right, out of Freehands.
That was actually like that group kind of round that Greg organized at the end, where we were all kind of playing around the same couple parts. That was actually really cool. I was like kind of prepared for that to like crash and burn, and it really came out really nice.
Yeah, so that was, and if I could just give a little setup on that, we were at the end of our 5th day, and Greg Howard, in a very spontaneous kind of way, we'd done it last year, and I really didn't want to do it. I was like, Greg, it's going to sound like crap. It's not going to be any good. And it ended up being great, and we used it for kind of our marketing stuff for when we put together our State of the Stick video. So, but this time we had 34 stick players that were attendees. We had 8 instructors. We had Dan Chapman, who was filming, as well as Michael Johnstone. Everyone was there. So Tony, actually, that's not true. Emmett wasn't there, which was kind of unfortunate, and I don't even know if he's seen it. But what ended up happening is that no one really wanted the event to end.
Right.
and Greg, such a great guy. Greg had this vision for it, and so in the middle you had Dan Chapman with this camera, right, on a tripod, and then he was surrounded by about what, like 12 amps, Tyler?
Yeah, something like that.
12 amps. We were just like pulling in amps from everywhere, and then you had about 30 to 34 people all in a circle, and then Greg actually started it, and all the instructors were outside, and then at some point, it all started getting going, and we just got kind of out of Greg's way.
Yeah.
And then we came in and were dancing around the stick players and clapping, and then somebody started to sing, and then there was like chanting, and then there was this energy and this magic that was happening all at once.
And Tony Levin's bringing up the rear with a conga line going around.
Tony Levin was dancing around, and he anyways, he was Tony Levin. I mean, he was single-handedly responsible for no less than, like, if not all those players, then like 75% of them.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty magic moment, and I'm glad that you brought that up. And Josh, thanks for that question.
Yeah.
That was, and then then we all went off to lunch.
Yeah.
Right. Like we actually went off to Then we went around the circle and kind of talked about it. And then there were tears and laughter, and like people just broke down and started crying, and it was all of a sudden it became this like support group, and I was kind of like,
What? Really?
not really the attention of this, but it's awesome, like people are in tears. I was in tears. Like Bob Culbertson was in tears, right?
Wow.
The irony was that Greg left. Greg had to drive Jackie Mouvier. Yeah, something like that. I took Spanish. I didn't take French. I can't pronounce his name to do it justice. And I remember being corrected by him on at least 2 or 3 different occasions. Anyways, great stick player. He took him to the airport. And so, ironically, this beautiful thing that Greg had set in motion, he wasn't there to like truly appreciate. And so, I know that Dan has the footage somewhere, and at some point we'll show it because we have each individual thing that each person said, and it was pretty special. Anyways.
Wow, that's cool.
And in general, Freehands Academy really was it was a very special thing. It was one of the things that I know a lot of people had questions about was like, is there like a skill level you need to be at, or is there a point where you're like skilled to a point where you're no longer going to be able to get anything out of going? And the classes really weren't set up like that. They were really set up for you can really be at any level and get a lot out of.
Yeah.
And it helps to have awesome instructors that we did. They were just able to kind of tailor everything that way.
Cool.
Yeah. So
my final question to you, and then I'll open up to everybody else one more time, but I want to get to this, is I think one of the best questions for Freehands Friday is what's your advice to new players?
You've asked that a couple times before, and I didn't even think of coming up with an answer for it. Give me a second.
Sure.
Instead of answering the question, I just burst into tears. I think like really just let the stick be whatever it is to you. There are just so many ways to approach like getting into it and really like starting to learn it, and I don't really think that any of them are incorrect. I don't really think there's a wrong way to go about it. It's such a new instrument that you're at some point going to come onto territory that isn't necessarily common ground with other stick players, but that's not really a bad thing. That's not really that doesn't mean that you're not you're going about it the wrong way or anything like that.
Right.
I think exploring those kind of exploring new ground is something to be. When you're learning guitar or something like that, you're coming across to something that nobody around you has ever heard of. Maybe it means you're doing something a little bit too out there. But the stick has been around for what, 40 years now?
Yes. And
There's just so much. There's still just so much to touch on.
yeah, you saying that reminds me of something that when And the Traveler played at the Stick Night of the 2014 Northeast Stick Convention, a buddy of mine was there, and he kind of said something similar. He walked up to me after the show, and he's like, "Man, it's still the early '60s for the Chapman stick. You got your Eric Johnson or your Eric Claptons and your Jimi Hendrixes and your George Harrison and all these people who approach it differently, and it's still totally the Wild West for this thing right now."
Yeah, that's definitely how the Stick Night for Freehands Academy was too. It's like there are all these amazing players up there, and everybody's doing something completely differently.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. And it's a new enough instrument that there's still just that much of a range of possibilities out there.
Right. That's really amazing. Yeah. Cool. So, would anybody else like to ask another question before we have to head out?
I might like to ask a question. Just
Yeah.
Me. Because I'm so intrigued with the two-stick dynamic. I really think that's, like you guys have you heard of Kitty Hawk at all? Or are you,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. So that was, I think it was Paul, is it Paul Edwards?
Paul?
Paul?
I don't know off the top of my head. I've got to look into it.
He's kind of moved over to another tapping instrument, as I recall, and not really as much of a stick player anymore. But I know that at some point they had a guy that played guitar and cello who would also play stick. And so one of my questions to you, Tyler, is will there be 8-string guitar in your part, or will there be other instruments that you play in Geth, or is it strictly?
I don't really plan on doing anything, doing any other instruments or anything like that. I think it's going to, if Josh feels like it, feel free to. But
I'm in the same boat. It's like, why?
Yeah.
I asked Josh that same question. He's like, if he wants to play some 8-string guitar, he can. That's cool.
I don't know where that came from. I don't have an 8-string guitar, but.
Oh, okay. 7-string. I don't know. I mean, it's fun to see though. It's like there's that, it is this final frontier, but with 2 Chapman sticks, and the concept of the album that you guys have explained to us. It's like super exciting to hear because, I was like, oh, it's gonna be this kind of silly fun thing, but it's like, whoa, it's actually pretty heavy. And I can't wait to see how you guys explore that musically. Like, that'll be really fun. Like, I can't wait.
It's been really cool. I will say one of the neatest things for me about this band is the fact that Tyler and I have yet to approach 2 songs on the instrument the same way. There's like...
What other instrument can you do that on? Seriously, like you do this part. Like,
it's so cool. Like the tune that we just wrote, Manifest Destiny's Child, Tyler was saying that he wanted to stick mostly to the bass side.
I'm so proud of that name.
I know, right? It's so good. Tyler had said that he wanted to stick mostly to the bass side, so this relegates, like, where am I supposed to fit in? Because that's the challenge. It's like, we get some parts together, and then it's like, okay, what is right for the other person to play? There's kind of an aspect of it. It's like, what one person is maybe covering too much ground. Like in Splinter, I'm playing these bass hits and the lead melody in the very beginning, right? And that doesn't leave a whole lot of room. So Tyler used the bass side as more of an extended range guitar aspect for that section to kind of fill in the missing frequencies of what wasn't there.
Wow.
So like now we've got the bass range and the kind of alto soprano range, and Tyler's coming in with this baritone low tenor kind of thing on the bass side of the Chapman stick, and all of a sudden you've got a whole freaking orchestra.
Yeah.
And then in the next song that we wrote,
very interesting.
sorry, say again.
Sorry, I think I lost everybody.
No,
you're
you're
back.
still
You're
with
back.
us. Just repeat what you said.
Oh, I was saying it's very dense and it was very interesting to mix this first song.
Yeah, Tyler made a serious killer mix. He's really good at the backroom stuff. Yeah, so then so like that's the first thing, and then the second thing, it's like I'm starting out with this part that you can hear on a piano. Tyler comes in, and his answer to that part is like a much more traditional stick part.
Trying to think of the part you're
What? Oh, at the very beginning of Mokhtar.
Oh, yeah.
And and I'm playing this like piano thing on over the top of it, and then he comes in with something that sounds like, oh, that's definitely a Chapman stick. Yeah, please play it for us.
Wow.
Really cool part.
Oh, cool. We gotta hear some.
Yeah.
If you can hear it, yeah.
Maybe.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
So my part for... I'm trying to like balance the stick on my chair right now, but
Yeah. So yeah, like that part is like, hey, it's a Chapman stick, and then with the other tune, Manifest Destiny's Child, like I was saying, he's sticking mostly to the bass. So, and he brought in these parts, so I'm sitting there being like, all right, where do I fit? And this is the first time that I've been in a band setting where the only thing that I play is throughout almost the entire song is just treble side stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which
would be very gratifying for you, right? I mean,
oh man, I was really, I was kind of becoming pigeonholed in And the Traveler in terms of the roles that I could play. It was kind of becoming a little bit formulaic to me, I think, and this is just busting me wide open. I was showing parts to a friend of mine who I met while I was in And the Traveler, and I was showing him some of the stuff that we're doing with Geff, and his immediate reaction, like as soon as I started playing the parts, it was like, whoa, I have never heard you play the thing like that before.
mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, it's super cool. It's blowing me wide open. I find myself, totally reinvigorated and excited about the instrument in a whole new way. And it's cool, man. It's really cool. I'm
Well,
pumped.
what's important about what you guys are doing right now is that it breaks down these traditional roles that we see as guitar, bass, drummer, and singer. And we've all become, like you're saying, kind of used to that format.
Yeah.
In the band. Hey, sometimes it's a trio, sometimes it's a quartet, there's like a keyboard player, right? But with two sticks and a drummer, it's really like you're going to need two bass rigs, two guitar rigs, and the sound guy's going to be like, who's the bassist? And you can be like, we're both the bassist.
Yeah.
Who's the guitarist? Yeah, we're both the guitarist. But we don't prefer that. And he's like, well, okay, you don't want to be called the bassist, you don't want to be called the guitarist, so like, where am I going to put the DI? And it's kind of like, look, just, it's not what you think. It's not, and so for people listening to it, it's going to have that same kind of effect on people. They're going to see it, and watching you guys like, who's playing the bass line? Which hand is playing the bass line? We don't even know. Just like, shut up and enjoy, right?
Right. And I think it'll be a good move. You bring that up about sound guys and front of house stuff. I think it'll be a good move for us when we get there to really start considering having like a Geff sound guy who knows what to listen for and knows how to mix our stuff because he understands our music and our instruments.
Yeah.
I think that'll help us out a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be big. I'm stoked for it. We are kind of at time, and Josh, like, there's so many things I feel like I want to know from Tyler, and maybe we do a follow-up with Gaff in the new year, because
I would love to.
Yeah, I still wanted to hear about, like, Berkeley. Like, Tyler, I wanted to hear more about your experience at Berkeley and just so many of the things that you've got going on. And you know, we had Claire on this month as well, who's also out of Berkeley, and so I just feel like it's a great topic for people to know where the stick lies in formal education and that sort of thing.
Plus, our drummer, Josh Merhar, he's super humble about it, but that guy is just, he is a brain. You know, he is really a smart dude and a super talented player, and he's definitely going to have plenty of insight. If you have the three of us on, he'll definitely have plenty of insight about the stick from somebody who has to fit into a band with two of them.
Cool. Well, Tyler, you up for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Give the drummer some?
Yeah, that'd be very cool. I'd be very into that.
Cool. And you know, Tony, I think you're next, man. Like, sometime in the year we.
Input.
No comment. Okay.
Sounds good, Gene.
Cool. Yeah, and you had a new video as well, right? You just put out this video out at the Guitar Merchant, right? The one that, well, I hadn't seen it before.
No, yeah, it's new. I think that was after the Free Hands Academy. I stayed around in Cali for a bit. Dale said she was playing, so I was actually in Orange County, and I went up to see a show. I actually happened to be an open mic. I had my stick, and I said, why not?
Cool.
It's great. It's great.
So I handed my cell phone off to somebody in the audience to film it, and I was like, all right.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you did. I think we put that up on the FHA site, so I was stoked to see it. And you're in good company, right? You got a gig with Emmett and Dale. I mean, like, bam.
Oh, it was crazy. It was an unbelievable night.
Good. All right. Well, what do you think, Josh?
I think, yeah, unless anybody's got any last questions or comments, I'm having some computer trouble right now. This is really frustrating.
It looks like you're in the dark. It looks like, hold on, Josh, we're sending reinforcements.
This is what it's starting to feel like. No, I feel good. Tyler, is there anything else that you want to say, like a declaration of your undying hatred for me and everything that I do? You know, or
is that pointed at me or everyone else or anyone else? I don't know.
Yeah.
Tyler, I'm gonna let you take this one.
I got nothing.
You got nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm hoping that you guys can help me out in the next month. In January, I want to do a bit on buying a stick. So one of our sessions will be dedicated to, like, how to purchase a stick. And Tyler, you guys, or all you guys, are actually perfectly suited for this. Whether you're buying one new, whether you're buying one on eBay, 34-inch, 36-inch scale, railboard or not railboard, 12-string, 10-string, NS, stick bass. So I want to kind of open that discussion up. Forever, I've been wanting to have a discussion with Rob Stafarian on Melody Side guitar amps, and so that would be another one. Another one would be how to use the Stickist. So, like, adding links, adding images. I know it sounds kind of silly, but it's like it's a great resource for people to have who've just, like, purchased an instrument that want to get up and running pretty quickly. So those are some ideas for January.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. We're just getting ready to sign off, man.
How's it going, Randy?
Let's see if we can get him on here. I think we were just getting ready to check out here.
I think he's on. I think he's just standing really still.
We can see your image, Randy. Oh, and Josh is back. Cool. All right.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just got kicked the hell off by my computer. That was obnoxious.
Okay. Well, Josh, we're gonna do some new stuff, and we're gonna do some we're gonna have some of the ideas for the new year in January at least are resources to help stickists. One of them is how to use the stickist. Just a couple of learning lessons that I had along the way that I think would be really helpful for someone that was just like signing up, and you could just say, hey, here's a link, and here's a couple of people, and And then another one would be like buying a stick, like if you've bought a new stick or a used stick or what kind of stick.
Sure.
And then possibly topics, attending seminars and that sort of thing.
Okay, very cool.
Do we get to show off our sticks and stuff?
Okay, so I suppose the thing to do is to just continue with the silliness, I guess. If you've got, like a great hat you want to put on before we sign out, some special effects, some sounds that you want to show off.
I'm glad that's happening.
Oh my God. We're out. All right.
I've been invited to use draw.
Tyler, Josh, you guys nailed it.
I'm so glad I tuned in.
Yeah. Tony, Dean, Randy.
I'm in between patients, so I thought I would say hello.
Well, you're here to sign us out, Randy. We're just getting ready to check out.
Oh.
And we found the sound effects, apparently.
Yep. Cool. Well, thanks. This has been really cool, and Gene, thanks for having me on and letting me host and having me as a guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This has been really cool.
Yeah.
Do this again.
Really appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, I'm super duper looking forward to the future.
Great. Well, we're all looking forward to more Geth, and Josh, we got to find out more about the new album.
Yeah, that's coming out January 6th. Is my 26th birthday. Dean already got himself a copy, and I gave Tyler all of the waves from the album. But yeah, that's the date that it's coming out, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. I mean, this was a cool thing.
Good. Well, we'll look forward to hearing that in the new year, and we'll be sure to hype that up. Keep me posted. So I guess for the rest of the day, have a great Friday, and we'll see you guys all in the new year, and we'll do something on purchasing a new stick, probably our first week in January.
Sounds good.
Happy Free Hands Friday.
Yeah.
Take care.
See you guys.
See you.